Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the City Planning Commission. Today is Monday, March 6th. My name is Alyssa Olson, and I'm the president of the Planning Commission. The city will be recording and posting this meeting to the city's website and YouTube channel as a means of increasing public access and transparency. This meeting is also public and subject to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Abdi. Alper.
Present.
Baxley.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Conley is absent. Ford.
Here.
Koski.
Present.
Marwa is absent. Meyer.
Here.
Chair Olson.
Here.
That's 7 members present.
All right, we have a quorum. So next we'll proceed to the agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. There's also copies on the counter by the clerk. So we'll begin with acceptance of the minutes from February 21st. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes, so the minutes are adopted. Our next order of business is to organize the public hearing agenda for the evening. So I'm going to read through the items on the agenda and state whether they're slated for consent or discussion. So consent items will be adopted by the board. We'll be adopting staff recommendation and any conditions stated in the staff recommendation. So if you agree with the staff recommendation, you don't need to do anything. If you disagree with the staff recommendation and would like to speak on that item, you can raise your hand and we'll put that item on our discussion agenda. So we have the following items on the agenda this evening. Item number 4 is 200 Central Tax Increment Financing District Plan, and staff is recommending this item for consent, and it is not a public hearing item. So item number 4 will be on consent. Item number 5 is 702.5 First Street North. Staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against staff recommendation on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll put item 5 on consent. Item number 6 is 2323 Emerson Avenue North. Staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against staff recommendation on item number 6? Right, seeing none, I'll put item 6 on consent. Item number 7 is 4225 3rd Avenue South. And staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone here to speak against staff recommendation on item number 7? Seeing none, we'll put item 7 on consent. Item number 8 is 5637 Lindale Avenue South. Staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone here to speak against staff recommendation on item number 8? Seeing none, we'll put item 8 on consent. And item 9 is 2725 University Avenue Southeast, and we will be discussing this item. So we'll put item 9 on the discussion agenda. So to review, we have items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on consent, and we have item number 9 on our discussion agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Chair Olson, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just am double checking with some folks that just came in.
Oh.
And you wanted to pull it for discussion? Or- Okay. An applicant or a person did come in who wants to pull number 6 for discussion.
Okay, item number 6 will be on our discussion agenda. So let's try that one more time. Our consent agenda is items 4, 5, 7, and 8. And our discussion items are items number 6 and item number 9. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes, so the agenda has been approved. We'll proceed to handle the agenda in this order. First, we'll vote on the consent item on the agenda because it doesn't have a public hearing, and after that, we'll move on to our other consent public hearing items. So could I have a motion to adopt item 4 on consent?
So move.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes. Next, we'll handle the public hearing items for the consent agenda. I will open the public hearing on the consent agenda for items 5, 7, and 8. So if there's anyone here who would like to speak on those items, you can come to the podium now and state your name and address for the record.
Hope I'm doing this right.
Which item are you?
5.
Okay, yep, go ahead, state your name and address for the record, please.
Richard Rubenstein, 708 North First Street. It's short and sweet. I live in the Itasca. I've been there for a few decades. I'm all in favor of more retail right in the area. That's a great example. So I felt it important enough to come and tell you guys that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 5, 7, or 8? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, do I have a motion to adopt items 5, 7, and 8?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes. So if you were here for items 4, 5, 7, or 8, those items are complete. Have a nice evening. And we will move on to our discussion items. So first we will do item number 6, 2323 Emerson Avenue North, and staff is Lindsay Silas.
Good evening, Chair Olson, members of the committee. The item in front of you is 2323 Emerson Avenue North. This is a currently vacant site at the corner of 24th Avenue North and Emerson Avenue North. There was a commercial building on the site until it was demolished in 2009. It's been vacant ever since. The site currently contains split zoning, with the northern portion of the site zoned C1 and the southern portion R2B. So the applicant has proposed a new 2-story building on the site. This is located in Corridor 4 in urban neighborhood. In order to construct the building, the required applications are rezoning to add the split zoning overlay district. Some sort of rezoning would be required in order to develop on the site, given the existing split zoning condition. So the applicant is proposing to add the split zoning overlay district to allow using the existing base zoning. Variances to reduce the front yards along 24th and Emerson. A variance to reduce the minimum drive aisle from 22 feet to 19 feet. And site plan review. So a little bit more about the proposal, here's a photo of the site. A little bit more about the proposal. There are 6 townhome units proposed, each to be 2 stories, and then a 2-story commercial space with office above proposed at the corner. The hope to have a commercial space is why the applicant has proposed to use the split zoning overlay district rather than rezone to a fully residential district. And as you can, I don't know if it's super clear on the plan, but basically the line of where the northern units end, like just to the south of that, there's a dash line that shows where the zoning district changes on the site. And so, given the guidance in the zoning code, the commercial use needs to be located fully on the commercial portion of the site. And in addition to that, the parking area, which is located on the residential portion of the site, can only serve the residential uses on the site, given the split zoning condition. So here's the site plan. And as you'll see, so the two-story residential structure to the south of the site has an increased setback of 31 feet. The applicant has proposed a 15-foot setback on this portion, or on the portion of the building facing Emerson. There is also a reflective front yard setback along, there is a front yard setback requirement of 15 feet along 24th, and the applicant has proposed 14 feet. In addition, the applicant has also proposed to reduce the minimum drive aisle width for the parking area. The variance to reduce the drive aisle width is only required for the drive aisle that is adjacent to the standard stalls. There are, I think, 3 compact parking stalls that would not require a variance, because the variance is to reduce it by 3 feet, and the compact parking spaces accommodate for that. So if this parking area was permitted to be fully compact spaces, no variance would be required, but we do require that at least 25% of the parking spaces in any provided surface lot be standard spaces, and so that's leading to this variance request. Here are the layouts. It's a little small to see on the floor plans here, but all of the townhome units are proposing 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. And then the commercial space, at least in the submitted materials, the commercial space is proposed to be a bakery with offices above. Here are some elevations and a rendering submitted as part of the proposal. So as noted, staff is recommending approval of all applications. As far as the variance findings go, this is a unique site with a split zoning condition that creates almost an interior boundary within the site that needs to be worked around. In addition, there are 2 required front yard setbacks, so it's a reverse corner lot, restricting the buildable area of the lot. Staff finds that the proposal is reasonable given the guidance in the zoning code and the guidance in the 2040 plan. The site is guided for corridor 4, so the proposal for a 2-story building is well within that limit. And there are a number of conditions that are stated in the staff report for the site plan review application, but otherwise staff is recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions for staff? All right, I don't see any. Thank you. So I will open the public hearing. Is the applicant here to speak on this item? You can come forward.
Hello. My name is Zach Robb. I'm here today representing Ahmed El Tawili in Northeast Minneapolis Properties. Ahmed and I are business partners and will also be, or I'll be a co-developer in the development here at 2323 Emerson Avenue North. Due to previously made travel arrangements, Ahmed couldn't be here today, so I'm just filling in. I appreciate you all for allowing me to a moment to speak about our project here. We're grateful for the opportunity to be working on a project like this, our first mixed-use development in our own neighborhood. Ahmed and I are both local residents. We both live a few blocks away from the proposed site. 2323 Emerson Avenue North has been vacant since 2010. Currently a vacant parcel, the property has been the site of several disturbances over the last couple years. The intersection of 23rd and Emerson has also experienced its fair share of crime and trauma over the years here, ranging from minor disturbances to multiple homicides over the last few years. We believe the best way to deter crime is by having a vibrant and active neighborhood. We look forward to developing a project in a building that will bring new residents to the neighborhood. The proposed development will provide 6 residential dwelling units, a commercial shared office space, and a small coffee shop. The dwelling units will be townhouse style for the most part and offered to tenants that earn 80% area median income or lower. The shared office space will also house about 20 to 30 estimated small businesses and entrepreneurs from the local area, as well as creators and artists. Ahmed and I will also house our real estate brokerage, Premier Realty, there, which has been centrally in North Minneapolis for 3 or 4 years now. The theme of the office space is supporting entrepreneurship and home ownership, and those are 2 things that Ahmed and I are very passionate about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant before we move on to the public hearing, rest of the public hearing? I'm not seeing any. Thank you. Oh,
Quick question.
Commissioner
Sorry.
Baxley.
Maybe on the commercial office space on the second floor, that's not for the bakery use, that'll be a separate.
Yeah, so the idea is it's going to be about a 2,000 square foot space in general, and so that's going to house both the real estate brokerage, having a small bakery counter as well in there, so coffee, something very small, and the rest of it will be shared or private office space for
So
entrepreneurs.
it'll have a separate entrance, separate stairs, elevator, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no elevator, but
Okay.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
All right, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? If so, you can come to the podium now and state your name and address for the record and proceed with your comments.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Boudal. I live at 2319 Emerson Avenue North. I am the house that is next to the vacant lot. My husband and I bought our house in 2020, and we bought it for several reasons. One, it was the middle ground for our blended family of the two areas we needed to be. Second, we found it to be a growing community, a good opportunity for real estate to kind of, get our money back and have a good investment. And prices are definitely rising in our area, and we are seeing a lot of development. We're very encouraged by the development, and we do welcome it. The issue that we're having right now with this proposal is simply it's right next to our house. And it's a small space. If anybody has ever ventured out, even looking at those plans, looking for all these recommendations, looking for all these different rezonings, all about development in our neighborhood, all about bringing in, new people. I definitely agree with the previous speaker that we need to promote the area. However, I am concerned simply with the space of this. 8 spaces parking lot with 6 units, a bakery, and offices above. That is not enough parking. We already have limited parking with heavy traffic flow in our neighborhood. 24th and Emerson is a very busy intersection. It has started to improve in traffic. We've actually had a few residents that were, when I say the word problem residents, I don't want to point fingers, but that is in cleaning up the neighborhood. We've had some issues, as was stated, with crime, even homicides, and we are seeing a exit of some of those issues with some of the residents, and we're seeing an entrance to, kind of new growth. I'm concerned with all of the traffic. I'm concerned with having this many people in a small space, adding already to the kind of crowded area. The street, Emerson, that my house faces, there's only parking on one side. It has a bike lane. The other street that they're proposing building on, 24th Avenue, it is mostly residential. Actually, it's all residential, excuse me. And it is a very small street. It is definitely always a snow emergency street. There is limited parking. There are already rentals on that, in that area that take up street parking. So my question is, where are all these people going to go? And how is that going to affect my property values, my family? I have 3 children, and there are many other families moving into our area. Not to mention, we have probably 2 or 3 elementary schools in our area. There are buses that come along there, and with it being a heavy trafficked intersection, we also have, semis going through there. We have city trucks and vehicles going through there, recreational things. So we are very concerned about that. We're also concerned about it coming close to our property line. With it obviously meaning to use every single square inch of this property, I don't really want to look out my window and be able to, touch a commercial spot. So I'm concerned with my family, the families that are coming in, the traffic that's coming to it, and also my property values and the property values around me that in our neighborhood we have discussed heavily that they're going up, and I don't want this to impact those people that, and to be honest, we're new to the neighborhood. We have spoken to many people in our neighborhood who have lived there for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're really excited about the new growth and their property value going up and what we can bring in, especially with the light rail coming through, that to build such a large building on a small lot, yes, it's growth, but it also is going to impede families coming in, which is really a huge part of needing to create a community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Commissioner Marwa?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Olson. Can I ask staff a question real quick, Lindsay? I have a question just based on that the guiding future land use for this is urban neighborhood, but this would not be in accordance with urban neighborhood. Is one of these variances the one that would then enable that to happen? I guess I'm trying to understand which one of these variances are we looking at to do that?
That is a really good question. So I think what Commissioner Marwa was trying to say is that right now, this has commercial zoning, and in the 2040 plan, it's guided for urban neighborhood, and they're proposing a commercial space on the corner, right? And is something in the application packet allowing them to establish a commercial space from now and into the future? The answer is a little complex. We have a lot of these kind of in-between projects that are coming through right now where we don't have the land use rezoning study in place, so we're relying on the zoning code that we currently have adopted. And so what that looks like for this project is right now they are able to establish a commercial space on the corner, and they have the zoning to do that. When we went through and designated sites throughout the city for urban neighborhood or commercial uses, one of the things we looked at was the existing zoning and existing commercial uses. So if that previous commercial building had still been on the site, this would have gotten a commercial future land use. But because it's vacant, the decision trended the other way, right? So because this is a very unique case, we have talked to the code development team and determined that because it's allowed today, they can proceed without any special applications in order to establish a commercial use. And then in order to make them not non-conforming immediately, the future land use, the map in the land use rezoning study will be amended to match that moving forward.
Okay, so the map that we'll be approving will therefore then already have this property as not urban neighborhood, or it would be commercial mixed use?
Yeah, well, so it would still be urban neighborhood designation in the comp plan, but given the split zoning situation, it would receive a commercial designation under the rezoning, so as not to make it non-conforming.
Okay, so there won't be,
So
exactly,
there wouldn't,
so it wouldn't be a
at
gray
this point, there
area.
isn't any specific application needed in order to retain those commercial rights, because they're coming through with the existing commercial, if that makes sense.
Okay, I think so. So it's the gray area between the new study and this. Okay, I think I'm kind of following. And then another question just about, the word bakery's been thrown around, bakery counter, bakery this. This might be a question for the applicant. When, are you talking full scale? I guess trying to understand scale of that, what does that mean?
Maybe that is a better question for the applicant, yeah. And I can just say, in terms of what would be permitted on a commercial space in C1, it's kind of the lower intensity commercial uses that would serve a neighborhood. So general retail sales and services, your bookshops, your coffee shops, your, bike shops, all those sorts of things would be allowed, and some of the smaller scale retail uses as well.
But production would not be, so full-scale bakery production would not be allowed?
Correct.
That's what I thought.
But I'm happy to pass
Yeah,
it over
if
to
the applicant doesn't mind answering that, thank you.
Yeah, I would say that the bakery idea itself is a really minor piece of this. It's more so centered around just having a place for the members or the community to come get a cup of coffee or maybe a previously baked good. It's by no means going to have a full kitchen. It's not going to operate as a typical bakery would. It's more of just an idea. I think that's kind of been thrown around as, maybe we just have a little counter, maybe a barista of some kind, but it's kind of an undeveloped idea in that
Okay,
sense.
so it's
But-
not bakery production space?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Anything that was on site there would have been brought to the site from elsewhere, so.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, I appreciate it. Thank you, those are my questions.
Commissioners, any other questions or discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion? Commissioner Baxley?
Motion to approve staff findings on this.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Do you want to just, no.
Oh, did you want to comment, Commissioner Meyer?
Sure, I was just going to say why I support the project.
Yeah, sorry, I can't see it behind the candy bag.
Yeah, good point.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank the people who came out to speak tonight and explain why I'm taking the vote that I am. As far as the size of the building, they're not asking us for any side yard setbacks. The setbacks are for the front yard, and that makes sense to me. In regard to parking, as part of the city's climate goals, we're not requiring people to create more parking than they want, and I think that's especially applicable next to a high-quality bike lane and public transit. One thing we could do, we could deny the rezoning, but having a bakery seems to be the type of thing that more people would like to see, especially in North Minneapolis. And they mentioned coffee as well. There are only 2 coffee shops in all of North Minneapolis. So those are the reasons why I'm supporting the application today.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Any other discussion? I'm not seeing any, so I will ask the clerk to please call the roll. Thank you.
Commissioner Alper,
Aye.
Baxley,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Conley,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Koski,
Aye.
Marwa,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Did I miss anyone? Okay, so we have 9 yeas.
All right, that motion passes. Our next item for discussion this evening, our last item for discussion this evening is item number 9, 2725 University Avenue Southeast, and staff is Peter Crandall.
Good evening, Commissioners. Peter Crandall, Senior City Planner with CPED Land Use. The project before you is located at 2725 University Avenue Southeast. This is in the Prospect Park neighborhood, immediately adjacent to the University of Minnesota East Bank campus. The site itself is a through-block site with frontage on both University Avenue Southeast and 4th Street Southeast. So it has 2 public-facing front elevations and 2 front yards. University Avenue Southeast is a goods and services corridor in the Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The site is currently zoned for the C3A Community Activity Center District with the Pedestrian-Oriented Overlay District and the University Area Overlay District, and is guided for the Transit 30 Built Form Overlay District. Future land use on the site is community mixed use, and the site is approximately 0.86 acres in size. You can see based on the zoning map here, and this is relevant to some of the applications, that the 2 sites on either side of the subject site are zoned for OR zoning, which is considered a residential zoning district, and that comes into play with some of the yard requirements that I'll discuss in a little bit more detail here shortly. The site is currently occupied by a 1-story commercial building that has been used most recently as a restaurant. You can see that site configuration and existing conditions on the survey here. The building is oriented to University Avenue Southeast, and then there's a surface parking lot that goes through to 4th Street Southeast at the back. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing structure on the site in order to construct a new 7-story mixed-use building with 135 dwelling units and approximately 3,000 square feet of commercial space. This is a rendering showing that proposed structure as seen from University. The applicants provided some helpful graphics here just to show the context that the project is being proposed in. So as I said, this is just to the east of the University of Minnesota campus. There's been a lot of development in this area in recent years, primarily driven and partly driven by the implementation of the Green Line LRT. The site is located within a half mile of 2 LRT stations on the Green Line. And you can see some of the more recent development in the immediate area surrounding the site in these images. To the west of the site is a 4-story office building, and then immediately to the east of the site is a post office building. And this is some images of the site as it exists today with that one-story commercial restaurant building and surface parking lot. This plan shows the ground floor proposed layout for the applicant's proposal. They are proposing to implement a commercial space along that University Avenue Southeast elevation, approximately 3,000 square feet in area, and then would locate the primary residential entryway along that elevation as well. And then there is some at-grade enclosed parking and one level of below-grade enclosed parking proposed. You can see that here on those two plans. And then above the ground floor, between levels 2 and 7, the building takes sort of an S formation in massing, and includes a mix of different units. And then some elevations of the proposed structure. Along the east elevation there, you can see that there is some parking garage frontage that the applicant's proposing windows for the visual interest requirement. And then on the bottom is the north elevation facing 4th Street Southeast. Some massing diagrams, and then some details of that commercial frontage along University, and then some context of recent development in the area. Additional renderings and images of the proposal. And proposed landscaping plan. So I'll get to the applications here. The applicant is seeking several variances, 3 of which concern the yard requirements. So the proposal requires a front yard variance on the 4th Street Southeast elevation. And again, that's primarily due to its adjacency to the OR zoning, which has a residential yard requirement. It should be noted that this area is guided for commercial mixed use in the 2040 plan. And so when the land use and rezoning study is adopted, that need to provide a reflective yard would go away. But under the current zoning district, they do require that variance. And then the same goes for the interior side yard requirement. In the C3A zoning district, there are no yard requirements because it's commercial, but given its adjacency to OR, it requires a reflective yard. And so the applicant is seeking a reduction of those interior side yards from 15 feet to 3.5 feet approximately on either side. The primary variance of concern is the variance to reduce the minimum height. So this site is guided for the Transit 30 built form overlay district, which is an intensive overlay district applied in areas of the city that are very well served by transit and that are in close proximity to other commercial uses and employment centers. It's applied in very limited parts of the city. I provided this map in the presentation just to show exactly where we designate Transit 30. It's primarily in areas around the downtown core, immediately across the river from downtown, and then around the University of Minnesota campus, particularly in this area that's within half a mile of 2 light rail stations. So it does have a minimum height requirement of 10 stories. The purpose of that is really to compel a level of development intensity that matches the level of service that's provided by the infrastructure and by the context. So the applicant would require a variance to reduce that minimum height from 10 stories to 7 stories and would need to provide a practical difficulty justifying that that's not based on economic considerations alone. And staff was unable to make those findings for that variance. So we're recommending denial of that height variance, which then necessitates denying the other applications because the changes that would be required to comply with that height minimum would change the other applications such that they would basically need to resubmit a new proposal if they were going to comply with that minimum height. So we are recommending denial of all applications, primarily due to that, that height issue. I did note in the staff report that irrespective of that height issue, if the project were in compliance with the minimum height, we feel like the side yard and front yard requests are reasonable and supportable, and that there are practical difficulties there given the proximity to OR zoning and the change that's coming through in the land use and rezoning study. And we've analyzed the site plan for compliance with the site plan review design standards and don't see any major issues there. It's primarily the development intensity, and staff feels like this project does not meet the 2040 plan's goals for the site and for the level of development that we would want to see in this location. So I will pause there. I can take questions, and then I know the applicant is also here.
Thank you, Peter. We'll start with Commissioner Alper.
Thanks. I have just a quick question. What is the built form overlay district across University Avenue on the other side? Is it Transit 10?
That is a good question, which I can probably find the answer to.
This is also good training, so thank you for showing me how to find the answer, teaching me to fish.
Okay, so the subject site is here, which is Transit 30, Transit 10 across University, that's right.
Okay, and Transit 10, is that height from minimum height? What's the minimum height there?
The minimum height in Transit 10 is 2 stories, I think.
And the maximum height?
10 stories.
Okay. So if it were guided by the land use, or excuse me, the built form across the street, then it would fall within.
It would comply.
It would comply. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you. Can you just go through why you're proposing to not support the setback variances today? Like, you said that, like, I get why staff isn't recommending on the height variance, but it doesn't follow to me that we couldn't approve the setbacks.
Essentially, if you don't approve the height variance, you can't approve the site plan review because the site plan is based on the design that's in front of us, and the design would need to change dramatically enough that the site plan would have to be reanalyzed completely, essentially. And so the side yard variances become irrelevant in that case, just because we would need a new proposal, essentially. If you were to approve the proposal as it is before us today with the 7-story maximum, we do feel like the side yard variances and the front yard variance would be supportable. So there isn't an issue with those probably in most scenarios that you could imagine, 7 or 10 or 15. It's primarily due to the fact that we can't support the height variance, that we're recommending denial of all the applications. They just sort of follow from that.
Okay. So I agree that we couldn't do the site plan review, but I'm gonna, after the applicant presents, I'll ask if they're interested in getting into the side yards for now. If they're not, then we don't need to. But it does seem like we could consider some of those today without approving the rest of the project. Like,
I think what the issue is that if the variances for either the height or the setbacks are denied, that the site plan and the building, the arrangement or the layout of the site would not be what you see as what you're approving. And so we would recommend that you deny all because otherwise things will have to come back. If you approve some and deny some, those that are denied will still have to come back to you because we don't have an approved site plan.
right. So I agree that they would have to come back.
I think it's cleaner and easier on our clock, especially the 6120 day clock, is that everything stay consistently together with applications.
Okay, that does persuade me. Thank you.
All right, let's go Marwa, then Koski.
Hi, Peter. I have a quick question. If, given the future land use, would those side yard variances need to be in place also?
So when the land use and rezoning study gets implemented and the site gets rezoned and the sites immediately adjacent to it get rezoned, it would not need side yard variances. You could
Okay.
build up to the property line essentially under the current conditions without a variance.
Okay, so that's because, again, we're before
Yeah,
the approval
we're
of
working
that.
with the existing zoning, which is not really in compliance with the guidance for 2040 yet.
And the existing zoning was also Transit 30.
The Transit 30 built form zoning is in place. That's kind of overlaying
Oh, the
the
overlay
base
of it.
zoning, but the
Okay.
base zoning is like the old zoning that's still hanging out that we haven't fixed yet from 2040. So that's what's driving the need for the variance.
For the variances,
Yep.
okay. Okay, thank you, that's what I wanted to check.
Commissioner Koski, did you want to go?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if this is a question for you or for maybe the developer, but I was just curious to know why 7 stories versus coming up to 10 stories, and what the reasoning behind that design was.
I think the applicant's probably going to have something to say about that.
All right, Commissioner Baxley.
Peter, what percentage of the building has to hit 10 stories for this to be in compliance?
We don't really have a minimum percentage, and I think the intention is really for this to be a tool to kind of compel the development in general to comply with that height requirement by creating a need to invest more in the structure, probably change the construction type, and implement a much larger number of units on the site. So the intention would not be to meet the requirement with like a spire or something, or like one small portion of the building, but to substantially increase the development intensity.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions right now, so we'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to please come forward.
More images than what are in here. There's just a few that I took out just for abbreviation.
And you just up and down? Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mick Stoddard with DJ Architecture, architect on this project. And I'd like to open by talking about the design considerations that went into this project that speak to a lot of the pieces that Peter mentioned, just appropriateness to the site, context, and appropriateness for the goods and service corridors. This slide here, A11, talks about the adjacent context of recent projects on this site. Most of the projects that you see along 4th Street are 5- and 6-story buildings that are relatively recent. And University Avenue, there's a number of new projects that are 5 to 7 stories as well. There's a couple that are larger that get into portions of them get into the 10-story size, but most of them are at the 7-story height, which is what we are proposing at this site. The building size and scale, it reinforces through this diagram the scale of the neighborhood, which are ranging from these 4 to 7 buildings along 4th Street and 7th Street. Some of the design considerations that went into this building had to do with the goods and service corridor and the appropriateness of what we're presenting along University Avenue and also on 4th Street, as these are the major pedestrian areas. And we intentionally stepped the building back and used a large portion of glass to create transparency, create activity along this street. Did a lot of design work on this portion. Little night shot that we showed as well to kind of show how the building will be lit at night and be inviting. Be a nice project for this area. Missing 12. Am I able to put a slide up on the screen that's not available?
Paper? The paper?
Yeah.
You can put it on that.
Use the projector over there
Okay.
if you want to just use your.
Three of the recent buildings that are newer ones that do achieve that 10 stories that we're talking about in terms of the transit 30 height minimum. These three are the Link, Pillars at Prospect Park, which are located further up University, and both of them only have a portion that achieves that 10-foot goal. The remainder is at 7 stories. And the other one is a new project at 2330 University Avenue. And the thing that a lot of these projects have in common is the size of their sites. They are much larger than what we have with our small interior lot, which is only 31,000 square feet. These are 127,000, 71,000, and 61,000 respectively. Some are an entire block, most are corner lots. What this does, it allows flexibility in your design to shift and move building program and your design around, and allows flexibility there that we do not quite have on this site because of the narrowness and the fact that it's a through lot. One other thing I'd like to talk about is Peter mentioned density and the appropriateness for Transit 30 site, and the goal for FAR of this area is 3 to 10.4 FAR. In our proposed project, we are able to get to 5.3, so we're right in that range, not at the bottom, kind of in the middle. And we are able to get 135 units, and it's student housing, so we are looking at 400 beds, 400 students on this property. So it does achieve the density that is part of the goal, and I think we've put together a pretty good building that's appropriate for this neighborhood. And I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Campbell?
So I just wanted to go back and give you an opportunity to respond to Commissioner Koski's question about challenges in reaching that 10-story height.
Sorry, can you repeat
The question was, what's preventing you from going up to 10 stories as opposed to your current 7?
What we're proposing is a construction type of wood construction over podium, so it's wood over concrete. So kind of the max you can do with that is 7 stories. Once you go to 8, you get into high-rise type construction, which has limitations as well.
Does that answer? Okay. Commissioner Koski, did you have any follow-ups, or does that answer your question? Okay. Well, the different construction type, what is the limitation of the other construction type that could go higher?
Oh, a different type of construction?
Yeah.
It would be concrete or steel.
And what's the limitation? Like, why can't you do that?
I will have to let the developer speak to that.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Garrett. I'm with the development team. I just wanted to make a few comments here as well, and could I come back to that question a little bit later? Yeah. Yeah, my name's Garrett. I'm here as a member of the development team for the proposed project. Several design elements of this project were influenced by the 2040 goals and comprehensive plan. The existing site hosts a restaurant and a surface lot that was well loved by the residents in this neighborhood for quite some time. While there'd still be high density housing with the current proposal, there'll also be new commercial use and updates to pedestrian experience. There have also been several roundtable discussions with representatives of the Prospect Park Association. We work to have participatory design through equitable and civic engagement. Our work with them to meet the aesthetic goals will continue throughout the entitlement process. The construction will also be resilient and meet energy efficiencies. We're a fully union developer. This distinction mandates living wage opportunities with high execution. The project will promote clean environments and climate change resilience with the installation of rooftop solar array, stormwater retention system, complete soil remediation, and pollinator-friendly landscaping. As Mick previously stated, the unit count would increase housing supply by 135 dwelling units. Given the proximity to the University of Minnesota and the light rail, the bedroom count can house up to 409 residents. Through our FAR calculation, we not only meet but exceed the density goals for the site. This neighborhood has a housing market unlike many others in the city of Minneapolis. The design intent and market realities are not comparable to the neighborhoods of Northeast, Longfellow, or Whittier, for example. Thus, before you is a building that we have carefully designed that will influence how the neighborhood adapts and responds to the existing conditions and built environment. It is the new proposal for new residents that we are proud of.
Thank you. Commissioner Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess I was wondering if you could maybe go into a little bit more in depth of the materials. I guess this is new for me to understand, is why it would make a big difference between the wood pilings, am I getting that right, versus the steel? And so what is that? I mean, there are other buildings in the area that you showed that obviously decided to use those materials to go higher. So is that the only barrier that you have, and why is that a barrier?
Sure.
It's not necessarily a barrier, it's just a different construction type. Concrete and steel are typical building materials that you use to go higher when you get up to above 7 stories, 8 to 10. It is a more expensive construction system.
Hi, Commissioners. This is I am Carol Lansing, attorney Faegre Drinker. I work with North Bay on assisting in the land use processes. And, you know, we had a committee of the whole meeting a while ago, and there was only a few of you there, and we went into this. There's always this carefulness around talking about money, because a practical difficulty that justifies a variance cannot be economic circumstances alone. But economic circumstances are relevant to everything about a development project that comes in front of you. It has to be buildable, it has to be feasible, it has to be financeable, it has to be marketable. And at some point, certain things that might be ideal from policy perspectives just aren't. And on a lot this size, in this particular area, to build a taller building that does change the construction type and creates, costs more, there needs to be a balance of that with, how many residents can actually live there, how much rents will they pay, how many amenities can you include in the building that support that style of building, outdoor terraces, swimming pools, all of that comes together for a project that is actually feasible and can be built. And this is a relatively narrow lot, and the point we're trying to make with showing you what tall buildings in this area have been approved and are constructed or under construction is that they're on much larger lots. They've got multiple street frontages and more of it that can incorporate all those things. And including, though there's no parking requirement, this project is not a one-to-one, but you do need parking to support a certain number of the residents that are gonna live there. This site cannot put in more parking below grade so if you got a taller building, we can't put in more parking below grade because of a high water table and soil contamination. So that is a limiting factor on how all of the elements of a feasible project come together. You could achieve the 10-story height with 3 levels of above ground parking, and it would comply with the height, but you wouldn't necessarily get any more units. You wouldn't get necessarily a better project. You've heard tonight, we think this complies with the essential goals and intent for densification. There's going to be a lot of people on this lot. And in terms of, and certainly in comparison to what's there now, which is a 1-story building and a lot of surface parking. And for the area, it isn't going to undermine the development of this area for density. A lot of development has already occurred and will continue to occur here. So those are the things we think come together for practical difficulties.
Thank you. Are you from the applicant team?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Commissioners. Daniel Oberperler from North Bay. In my history, I've built about 6,000 beds on campus, and throughout the last 10 years, I've seen trends and trends in costs and affordability requirements, perhaps for the tenants and different housing types, as well as students and all people in the neighborhood, stakeholders, opinions, and realities. And it seems to me that the reality is there is affordability component needed from the tenant perspective, the resident perspective, right? And what drives cost of construction costs more money and to rent. So just the balance of what's coming in the area and what's needed, as well as new housing stock, creation of new housing stock is what kind of led to the decision of a 7-story structure opposed to a 10. We do want to achieve all the goals of the city, and the particular area and submarket that it's in drives kind of that. This type of Transit 30 or requirement or FAR wouldn't be able to be solely achieved so much in other neighborhoods given the makeup of this particular submarket. So we appreciate your consideration. And did you ask what the materials were of the building or just the construction type alone, Ms.?
She was just talking about the construction type.
Okay. Just want to also state that this is a fully, we would seek for a PLA, and this is a fully union building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marwa?
I have a question for the developer real fast. How many affordable units are being included in this?
The affordability would just meet the 8%.
8%?
Yep.
I'm sorry, was that 8 or 80?
8.
8, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions from commissioners, so let's move on in our public hearing. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? If so, you can come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Chair Olson, members of the committee, my name is Richard Gilliard. I live in Prospect Park, and for the past 20 years I've been on the Land Use Committee, and I'd like to comment on this proposal. I'd very much like my neighbor, Spencer, to be able to sell this property and benefit from all of the work and contributions they've made to the neighborhood over the years, but this is not the project that should be on this site. This is an enormously important site. Its proximity to the university, to the Green Line, to the Park Park Station, to the University Station, to the development that's been built north of University Avenue, the food hall, Surly, the stormwater system developed by MWMO, the energy system being pursued by the university and the wall companies and others, really make this an enormously valuable site. And the site, the proposal that's being put forward today just doesn't live up to the potential of the site. The citizens of the city have made an enormous investment in this area, in the Green Line, and the university, and all of the systems that are here. And the development in the area should really be commensurate with that and pay back on that huge public investment. The architects and others have talked about the size of the site. I'm an architect, so I know a little bit about these things, and I've done work on larger buildings than this. Yes, it is a tight site, but the sites that were referenced didn't exist in the main on their own. Those were assembled sites. Those were assembled of several smaller sites. and the opportunity is here to do that as well. So, all in all, we want to see the site develop, but this is not the project. The building makes no contribution to the public realm on 4th Street. The first floor is 90% parking. There's a sliver of commercial space along University Avenue, and it just doesn't have the vitality, it doesn't have the endurance to be the building we want to have here for the next century. This is not about doing the right thing for our neighbors so that he can exit this site. We all want that to happen and for him to be happy and make some money doing it. But what we do here today is going to be here for 70, 80, 90, 100 years. And this is not the proposal that fulfills that charge that we have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? You can come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Greetings, council members. My name is Spencer Ong. I'm representing the property there at 2725 University. I come here today to represent my parents who have owned the property and the family business on site there. A little bit about our family is that we are the first generation of immigrants to America, escaped from the wars of Cambodia and arrived to Minnesota with nothing but clothes up behind our backs in 1981. At first, starting out on the welfare system, my parents worked hard to get off the system, even rode bikes 5 miles away to go to work in the middle of winter, saved some money, and took a chance and started a small business called U Garden Restaurants in March 7th of 1993. At that time, there were many restaurant business attempts that failed prior to us taking over that location. Through more sweat than equity, working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, we were able to achieve the American dream. Regardless of where you were born, if you work hard, the opportunities will be there for you to succeed. Tomorrow, March 7th, will be our 30th year in business on that property. How many small business do you know have lasted 30 years in that location? Small business is the backbone of the city, and we have served the city and neighborhood community well. My parents worked hard all their life, and now are retiring as they are in their old age. I ask that you, the council members, in your decision to find in your heart and to provide my parents some dignity and relief for them to retire in peace by passing the variance for the 7th floor building to be built. It would not be out of characteristic for you to pass this, as the majority of the surrounding buildings are similar in height to what we are requesting, the builders are requesting. The most recent building completed is the hotel across the street, Home 2, across the street from us on University, that we can see every day. And that was completed last year. And that's, 7th floor, the same height as what is being requested. It is unfair to deny us the same height, the same height as what they're requesting. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eric Amel, A-M-E-L. I'm the president of the Prospect Park Association and serving as the chair of the Land Use Committee right now, and I'm also an architect. So the applicant developer made mention of doing a roundtable equitable process with the neighborhood. Well, that is true. We have taken no action on the development. On the one hand, we very much stand with the owner of U Garden Restaurant, Spencer's family. But on the other hand, the project is not adding up to the framework for development that we want to see in our neighborhood. So we opted to take no action on the proposal. I also mentioned that the developer just indicated that the project was aimed at the student market. And although that is true, that's not necessarily the desire of the neighborhood to have yet another student exclusive. Well, I should temper that by saying, aimed at students. The developers made clear that they would invite all into the project who applied, but that it is definitely marketed to the student population. We're hoping that as projects move away from the skirt of the university, that they become more worker class, even condominium for retirees in our neighborhood and that sort, a broader mix than just student housing. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. So commissioners, it looks like Commissioner Meyer and then Commissioner Marwa.
Thank you. I'm going to oppose the main application tonight because I don't think it's consistent with what we want to see there. As one testifier said, I mean, it seems like an underuse of the space. And just to give more background of Transit 30 and the minimum 10-story requirement that was put on there, it's only in a very few limited areas where Transit 30 is applied, and it's the areas where you've got really high quality transit. You've got the light rail there, you've got the transitway, grocery store, lots of restaurants, parks nearby. And we really want to have those spaces used to their full potential. And other commissioners, for example, former Chair Rockwell, made an explicit argument for these minimum height requirements, that it pushed the developers to use higher quality materials. That was an explicit thing that they wanted to see. So they understood at the time of doing it that when you require 10 stories, that means you're not going to be able to do the 5/1 model that we're seeing so much around the rest of the city. I think this project would make sense in other parts of the city, but in such a high utility area, I think we should push for better use of that space. I don't think that there's any justifiable practical difficulty for this. Certainly it's not an economic one that the first applicant put forward. In the staff packet, the practical difficulty proposal they make there is all about parking. And I think that is contrary to the city's climate goals. As I indicated in my questioning previously, I'm very receptive to the setback variances. Those make sense to me. Coming in today, I was prepared to make the case for those, but not for the rest of it. But staff has persuaded me that because of the 60-day rule, that it makes more sense if you're going to deny the most inhibiting part of the application, to deny it in full. But if you come back with a plan that is compatible with Transit 30, then I would be very receptive to granting those setback requirements. Thank you.
I guess my comment on is kind of a question for the applicant team too. I want to support this. I think it's you've made a good case, but there's a few things that are alarming to me. One is the 50% of the ground floor being parking, being a parking structure, and then it also saying in our staff packet that it does not comply with the ground floor active function requirement for this area. So I understand the 7 stories and the building and the building materials and wanting to fit the kind of character of the other buildings and why you're doing that, but I also think if we had seen that you are actually complying with the ground floor active functions, you are going above and beyond, say with affordability to beyond 8%, or would be open to some kind of amendment when it comes to your plans, including other aspects of it, I would be fine with granting the 7 stories. But for what we're seeing right now, you have parking on the ground floor, no active functions on the ground floor, very basic affordability standards. We're not seeing that above and beyond to grant this either. So I would love to, I guess, get your feedback on kind of what changes could be made or what could be there, because I think it's right if you all want 7 stories in this corridor using different materials to make this project possible and feasible, that's great, but then you're also out of compliance with other aspects of this. So sure, love your feedback.
Planning Commission members, Daniel Oberperler. The sites that flank to the right and left of the sites for an assemblage, post office on one side, large office building on the other, both sites are large enough to do a larger project. If they should want to depart. Right now, that's not an option, so this sliver is sitting in the middle of those two, not on a corner. As far as the activity on the main floor, I'm happy to give up parking for more activity. I think that's appropriate, so, and well understood and appreciated ask. And not at all against it. I don't know how that goes with cutting out that parking or making the 4th Street side more active, as said a couple times here tonight, but happy to reduce the amount of parking, put active uses on the 4th Street side as well to assist and reduce the footprint of the parking.
Commissioner Conley and then Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is actually a question for staff, and it's really just so I can get a better understanding. I also appreciate the flexibility around reducing the footprint of parking spaces because we just need to do that. However, I'm having some trouble. So the development team put up a slide, and maybe you have that showed the heights of the other buildings surrounding the building. So my question is really around I wrote it. It seems like there's a lot of 5 to 7 story buildings in that area, and if the minimum is 10 because of the Transit 30 overlay designation, then how did we get so many buildings they all look relatively new that are below the 10 story minimum?
That's a good question, Commissioner Conley, and the reason for that is that the minimum 10-story height requirement is relatively recent. It's an implementation factor from the 2040 plan that came into play when the built form overlay district was adopted, which was in January of 2021.
Correct.
Yeah. So most of the projects that you see that are that 6-story-ish height were implemented prior to that and utilized that stick-built wood frame over concrete construction, which is an economical construction type to provide that housing. So this is a new requirement, and it's part of the reason why staff feels strongly about enforcing it.
Not to paraphrase Commissioner Baxley, but I'm going to do that at the risk of making us both sound foolish. I'm not wild about coming to the Planning Commission and having us design projects that don't meet the vision of what city code and zoning code and other things say. I wish that the development team had looked into what Commissioner Meyer had spoken about as far as the intent behind creating the Transit 30 overlay district and attempted to design a building that could meet that, because absent, this is also a really interesting public policy question in that I don't want to speak for everyone on this panel, but I think the vast majority of us want bodies on this parcel. I think we also are here to, uphold and represent what the city has put forward as far as the 2040 and others are concerned, and hold ourselves accountable to that as we move forward. And I don't personally see in what's been presented today a practical difficulty that would lead me to believe that this project should move forward.
All right. I'll just say that I agree with, I think, Commissioners Marwa, Meyer, Campbell, maybe it sounds like Baxley, but, we don't often see variances for less height. I can't remember when, maybe we've had them, so this is kind of an exercise for us as well. But I also don't see a practical difficulty in this situation. This is a half block to a light rail station. So I would love to see this project come back, and I hope it does, and meet that 10-story height requirement. Commissioner Meyer, did you have another comment? Go ahead.
Just repeat that.
Okay, repeat it, and then he didn't have his mic on. Oh, he did.
I move to deny items A, B, C, D, and E, consistent with staff recommendations.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Marwa?
I might be on the other side of this on this one. The height to me is not the biggest issue. It's what is the practical difficulty around, is it less parking or more affordability that you can give us in this project to meet that 7-story goal? And I guess, like Commissioner Campbell just said, we're not here to redo your project while we sit up on the dais, but give us something here, because I want to understand the 7 stories in exchange for more affordable units. What's that, where's that economic line that where can this project work? And I don't understand. So I guess, yeah, I'd be interested to approve this with a condition of, more affordability or less parking, or definitely have commercial activation on the 4th Street side or something, and I'd be fine with approving it. But I want to hear more.
Is that a question for me? Where would the line be?
Yeah, could you put in more affordable units?
So, we're just now working through this policy for the kind of rent by the bed or rent by the, difference between the joint and several and rent by the bed condition with inclusionary zoning. And I'm happy to say that due to our team's hard work and Alicia Lieberberg from our team, it's starting to work, right, to find that, how to do and attain to that policy. So I think right now we have 23. Is that roughly what it is? Units? Affordable beds in the project for 8%. Threshold, how about double?
And when you say affordable beds, it means then for students also income qualify at a different level? I guess how does that work on a per bed basis?
If it's a per bed structure of times a term lease, I believe it's measured against the Pell Grant.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'd love to understand. It's a different model than most
Commissioner
affordable.
Marwa, I just want to, it seems inappropriate to me. Maybe staff has opinion for us to be negotiating, or it feels like you're negotiating terms for approval, just because, we have a set of terms for which we should be considering applications. We need a practical difficulty in order to, approve a variance. So I don't think this conversation is relevant to our vote, I guess, is what I would say.
I will simply state that what your question is about where that line is for us. We're a very small development company, and we rely on very local capital stack and funding. And so we don't go out and get outside investors. And so our threshold of what we can raise to do this kind of project stops at 7. And that's the bottom line. That is what it is.
Okay.
So that's all.
I guess in my question is, could there be, if it was double the amount of affordable housing on this site, therefore then double the amount that the applicant is approving, therefore would the 7 stories prove a practical difficulty?
So I don't believe so. Maybe staff wants to answer that, but there are situations where we can go higher when someone goes above and beyond in certain defined amenities or characteristics of the project, right? But we don't go
Sure. The way the built form works is that there are height minimums. We don't really have premiums associated with that to lower the height. There are certain districts in which you can increase the height of the building by providing amenities or other premiums. But in this case, given that it's a variance, we can't approve a variance based on a premium or the applicant providing something in exchange for that. We can't condition a variance based on those kinds of negotiations. We really have to make the legal finding for practical difficulty based on something that's unique about the site, not about something that the applicant's willing to provide to get that approval.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Baxley, did you have anything?
No, I
Oh,
think
okay.
I was just
Excellent.
reinforcing that point
Okay.
that you did. Thank you.
Okay. So the motion on the table is to adopt staff recommendation. We have a motion and a second. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Alper,
Aye.
Baxley,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Conley,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Koski,
Aye.
Marwa,
No.
Meyer,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas and 1 nay.
All right, that motion passes. And that was our final item for this evening. Are there any announcements from staff?
Just one announcement. After our last Planning Commission meeting, I spoke with President Olson about the retreat. We have selected, and so write this down, please, and we will send out emails, but it's already on your calendar. But April 27th is an already scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting. So that is when we will have the Planning Commission retreat. I am going to be out of the office for the next few weeks. And so President Olson is going to reach out for a call for topics. And so I'm hoping that by April 1st, then she will be able to send me the list of topics that you guys would like to explore or discuss or flesh out further during the retreat. Again, I'm going to ask staff for suggestions as well. And then that will give us a little bit of time to kind of comb through that, set the agenda, and then pull the materials together. So if you guys are sitting here or reading reports or whatnot, or prepping for Committee of the Whole on Thursday, and you're coming up with things that you'd like more information about, send it to Alyssa, if you can, please, or excuse me, President Olson. And she will collect those items and then get it to me by the end of March.
I know you guys have ideas because I've heard you talking about that.
Hillary, is the 27th also the LERS session, the public hearing?
The 27th should be a Thursday, correct?
It would just be a committee of the whole.
Okay.
Right.
What day is the big land use?
The land use rezoning study is tentatively scheduled for April 24th.
24th, that's okay.
Yep, so the Thursday following, so we could have a long meeting on Monday and a longish meeting on Thursday. We could bring snacks and water.
Excellent. Excellent.
And candy.
All right.
Can I ask a question? Is that I assume that's a public meeting, the retreat?
It is a public meeting, and we will notify it on the calendar, reflect it on the calendar as such, on the city's calendar.
I would love to put a plug in for getting the built form guidance printed so that I can add it to my binder. And
do a binder.
and also, I think the whole practical difficulty piece, I would love to see that, like, not just the terms of it, but examples of them used in real projects, like a one-pager with, like, is poor soils a practical difficulty, or is the height differential of the land, or is the, I don't know, just a list. I'll keep going. I'll keep thinking about it.
All right, yeah.
Send it to
thanks.
send it to Alyssa. I
We'll put
will
it on the
collect it
list.
from her later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get everyone binders. I saw people get really excited about that binder. Maybe what I should just also do for everyone, just as a refresher for those who have not gone through orientation this year, is I will email you the CPC orientation that we've been doing for the new members this year. It's very similar, it just switches out rosters and calendars from year to year, but there are those documents in there, if you don't have them still, about findings and how to make them, and spot zoning and other things that are in there. And so I will send out a link to that. That's maybe what everyone because we did used to print that out and put it into a binder and give it to everyone at orientation. But since COVID, it's dawning on me today as I was walking in. It's been 3 years since we've been home now, almost. It's crazy. But since COVID, we haven't been doing in-person orientations, so we can bring that up. Put that on the list.
Okay.
And we'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we adjourn? All right. If not, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Our next Planning Commission meeting is Monday, March 20th, and our Committee of the Whole is Thursday, March 9th.
In Minneapolis. Thank you for doing business in the city of Minneapolis.
Minneapolis has more than 1,000 miles of city streets. They're for driving, of course, but whenever there's enough room, the city also allows parking along the curb. If you're heading to a restaurant or store, you can often find a place nearby where on-street parking is allowed. And when you don't have a driveway or a parking